running another business alongside. Now it's related, right? It's still in the property industry and there's going to be a lot of overlap, but this is going to be a distraction. It's going to take up some of your time versus everything focused on building your own portfolio. So, when people talk about focus, when they talk about doing one thing, you've chosen to do multiple things, to diversify, to create, I guess, a couple of different sources of income, but also introduce more requirements on your time, more stress, more everything really. What was the driver behind that? You said you wanted to start the portfolio building service to grow the letting agency, but the letting agency didn't need to exist in the first place. So where's the reasoning, the motive behind that?
The motive is a couple of things. So first of all, I've obviously got a business partner there, which I've obviously got to consider as well. So this is not just me being a one-man band here. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'd say is having a trading business is really good in terms of diversification as well, because for me, property is great. And what we do from a property investment style point of view is very much long-term wealth building. So everything we're trying to do is not necessarily about maximizing the cash flow. It's basically about trying to keep it as much operations as we can at bay, basically, just to try and keep it as simple as possible. We're not touching any of the income from the investment side of things because we are compounding that, leaving that for the long term. So for us, it's how do we take out day-to-day dividends, salary, etc. It's really through the service-based business, and that's why we kind of created that service-based business. I'd say the biggest challenge that we had was trying to separate the lettings from our own investment company, and we've done that quite successfully. So that's a separate team, separate system. The way that we communicate is we don't have any overlap. It's very strict in terms of we follow the process. So i.e. we have our own account manager as SDGB Property Investments, and they handle us as if they'll handle any other customer. The reason why we did that was there was too much, we muddied the water too much previously, and they weren't treating us like a customer. Now they're treating us like a customer, they're getting feedback, they can improve on that, so then obviously they can offer that for other customers as well. So that's been a really interesting split that we've had to kind of do, but it's been for the best.
Yeah, I know that feeling, and this is probably an example of me not knowing how to run our businesses. But with our letting agency side of things, I always felt like we were eating last, if you like, right? If it was ever a case of, we've got these bills, just don't pay me this month, just use that for whatever. And it's kind of, you need that distinction, right? Like, I think the model that you've created is fantastic, and talking about having that trading business alongside your longer term sort of wealth creation, building that asset base, super valuable approach to take. But you're right, there can be a lot of overlap, and you need to be quite strict, I think, not just with yourself, but as you start to grow a team, make them aware that there is this distinction. Each limited company is a legal entity, and it causes a whole host of problems with accounting and bookkeeping, with when it comes to refinances. Well, can you prove the income? Well, yeah, it's there, but it's in the letting agency account because we've just, we've not taken it because we had some bills, whatever. It's just like you need to have that that rigor. And I guess you're talking about business partners there. I guess that helps, right? Because you are all doing your own thing to an extent as well. You can have that separation and say, our portfolios are separate customers. Keep them apart and treat them as you would treat any other customer. I like the fact that you've got those account managers in place, and that's the level of sort of professionalism I think you need to have when you start growing your business.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the kind of the most difficult thing that we had, Mike, was also separating everything out. So you're right, because we got economies of scale in terms of the software systems that we used, we're now having to try and separate all of that stuff. On top of that, for example, we would normally start our Mondays off with a Monday morning meeting. We go through all of our properties, the whole team would be on there. Now we don't do that anymore. So we've got the lettings team completely off that call. We just have the account manager that would jump on basically just to do a lettings update. And then that'll be an internal investment call, if that makes sense. So we are really trying to keep everything at arm's length. And it's quite difficult, but I think it's forcing us to really separate everything out and become more commercially minded with how we kind of treat everything and do everything. And it's also been a really good exercise to go through that to see, well, how good is the lettings business doing, for example? Can it stand on its own 2 feet without us? And that's been a really good exercise for us to go through.